It's a pleasure for me to announce our guest of honor. Dr. Neal Smoller is a pharmacist and owner of Village Apothecary in Woodstock. During the pandemic, Dr. Smoller, his staff, and hundreds of community members rallied together to perform a monumental public health effort, the vaccination of over 20,000 people against COVID-19. With his traveling road show, Dr. Smoller ensured that all people of our regional community had equal access to vaccines. He visited churches, high schools, colleges, community centers, and other venues. After successfully distributing vaccines, Dr. Smoller was asked to help local Ulster County school districts comply with state COVID testing mandates. By the end of the school year, Dr. Smoller and his staff assisted 20 school districts in Ulster and Dutchess counties, testing thousands of students and staff each week in 115 different locations. His efforts kept thousands of kids in school, especially at the peak of the Omicron variant. To date, Dr. Smoller and Village Apothecary have administered over 60,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines, over 55,000 tests, and distributed over 40,000 at-home COVID tests. It's an honor to invite Dr. Smoller to the podium to address the graduating class.
Hey, that's a really fancy way to say that I picked a lot of noses and stabbed a lot of people, isn't it? So before I continue my shenanigans, I just want to say that, yes, I've been recognized wonderfully by so many people in the community. And I've been around now. I've seen lots of different school districts and how they handled COVID, and we should count ourselves lucky. Specifically, Mary Stephanie Corson's interim superintendent last year and her COVID busting team really rose to the occasion. I was very impressed. I never had to fight here for the kids. So thank you, and they deserve a round of applause. What a good-looking bunch you guys are. You excited? It's going to be awesome. You better knock it off. All right, so you know how these things go, right? I list a challenge, I give an anecdote, probably from COVID, and then I convince you that you can save humanity, all while hoping that you don't zone out like I did at my graduation, right? And it's totally realistic, I know. And I started to list out the challenges of our day, and the list just kept growing and growing. And I said, that's just super depressing, man. Like, you guys are graduating into that? Yikes. And then I said, in these challenging times, right? That came to mind. Anybody had money on me saying that during this speech? I'm sure someone did, right? And it's become a cliche. And why? Why is it a cliche? Why, when we say the challenges that we have to face are so monumental that some know-it-all says, well, at this time in history, these people had to overcome greater obstacles. And it's not a contest. And I think it's become a meme to belittle our experience. And we have to be okay in acknowledging that our pain is real. And I can tell you with certainty that these times are unique. And I can tell you that our times are uniquely challenging because of three main things: weaponized misinformation, the abandonment of just being reasonable, and a sense of futility in our communication with each other. We're coming apart at the seams. And all through the pandemic, the ugly was everywhere. We don't have to list that all out. Please don't make me relive it. But for every 3 people that said, you're a hero, 1 person called me a villain. And for a lot of us, life just feels off right now. In our guts, we feel it. It's wrong. It feels overwhelming sometimes and almost unfixable. Simultaneously, though, we see these glimmers, blinding beacons even, of breathtaking selflessness and unconditional compassion. I saw these beautiful moments in my journeys as Captain COVID. It was in the countless stories of the people picking up groceries and doing errands for their vulnerable neighbors, in watching the community groups working feverishly to feed people. And I saw it in the crowds of people willingly lining up, following the science, and participating in public health acts that at their core put consideration of strangers first. And I saw it in that amazing group of people that became my Covidbusters, and what they gave for no reason at all but to help their community. It's pretty powerful, and it's pretty inspiring. We could and should be heading towards a better world and a stronger future, but why does it feel like we're not? Some use the analogy of a pendulum, right? And I see it more like a magnet pulling us off track, sort of like a black hole. And it's really wild. Ever since I was asked to speak, and even right now in this moment, my brain keeps thinking of the movie Interstellar. You guys see that one? Yeah, it's a good one. It's not just because Matt McConaughey is so handsome, he is, but it's because of the parallels to today. At the climax of the movie, the main character sends a message through a black hole to his own past. It's just dripping with symbolism, is it not? If I could give you wisdom from this side of space-time, it'd be this. We pay far too much attention to the big moments in our lives. Those once-in-a-lifetime, life-defining, or life-altering moments. We're made to believe that if we don't grab a hold of those and execute them perfectly, they're gone forever. That's nonsense. Life is not an Eminem song, guys. And I love Hamilton, and I don't want you to give away your shot, but life isn't like that. If you goof up a big moment, it stinks. But having had my share of experience with that, I can come to realize it's not a big deal. You'll probably have another chance at the same exact thing, and if you goof it up so bad it's gone forever, it's fine. Something else will come along, and then you'll have experience. What I'm trying to say is that life is a practice. And that's important, but that's not the wisdom. We pay almost no attention to the moments that are life-defining, that are life-altering. And what are those moments? Every other moment. So let me explain that. My biggest fear in the first days of vaccination was having to claw and scratch for the doses, ultimately losing out because I'm just a small guy in a big broken healthcare system. I made it personal and I took it personally. I felt I only had one shot, and that was an intended pun right there. If I couldn't get my foot in the door and prove how valuable I was, no doses for me, and then the people in my charge would go to the back of a very long line. And I thought, is this another situation where the system has no use for me? I know I can deliver, but is it still not my time? And will it ever be? I was paying attention to and overvaluing the big moments. Big moments are important, but it could have been a bit easier on myself because I was getting the little moments right. Every day, every moment was a new choice that I could win. And what do I mean by that? Well, I needed to sort through this mess of COVID. What is it for myself and for my patients? And I could read articles that make me feel good about my opinions and confirmed what I wanted to be true. Or I can seek out and I can engage with data of a higher standard regardless of my feelings. And I won those moments. And people need information, and I could have been selfish. I was getting lots of attention, and I could have went for it and really sought out that attention and been more polarizing. Or I could present and interpret this information in a straightforward, non-alarmist way, and I won those moments. Misinformation was running amok, and I could have trashed any person, definitely, just to scratch that gross itch that we get in those online debates. Or I could show some compassion and try to show some restraint and be firm, but positive and uplifting. And that was rough for me, trust me, but I won those moments too. The best part was that there was plenty of such moments, so much opportunity. That meant if I didn't get it right, I could course correct and be better and better and better for others. I could, and I did, get the practice I needed to be the best local person to guide people through a tough time. In reality, I couldn't be overlooked. Not this time, because I was authentically practicing to be a better, more trustworthy person. I sought to be exemplary in my approaches, to be inspirational, and those moments accumulated enough to rally an army of people to my side. We are a collection, even better, a reflection of every decision that we made at every little mundane moment in our lives. We are what we practice. The wisdom here, the message I'm sending across space and time, is that we would all be better served focusing on getting those little moments of our lives right and striving for a better choice each time, practicing with the intent to be better. So back to that long list of challenges tied together with those three themes, I believe behind all of that, there is one unifying problem, a thread that ties it all together. It's this interpersonal disconnect. And this is our great generational challenge. It's the one that's putting humanity at risk. And I'll ask again, why are we moving so far apart and taking steps backward when all signs we should be moving forward and closer together? This challenge that we face is universal. No matter what you've done, where your head's at right now, or what the trajectory of your life is, you're going to feel this pain. And everyone in and not in your life will be touched by this tearing apart of our world if they haven't been dramatically affected already. No matter how overwhelming and unsolvable this may feel, sitting it out is not an option. We must all do something. And as such, my message for you here and now, my call to action cannot be selective. I can't tell you to work hard and be successful. That rhetoric nearly drowned my generation, and only a few of us bought into it. And now the game's different, it's rigged. And that definition of success, frankly, just needs to get thrown over a cliff because it's just too tied to consumerism and materialism. And I could point to all the shining examples, especially here in our great community, of people serving, practicing civil engagement, and just being awesome neighbors. And in those examples, we feel like we're getting closer. But still, not everybody's always in a place to do that. Do we need another pandemic, maybe, for some inspirational stories? No, let's not do that. No, thanks. But here's a reality that we must accept that comes as a lesson from one of modern civilization's most difficult times. Our greatest losses, our social self-sabotage, are born out of selfish acts. Our triumphs, our victories, our greatest moments come from selfless acts. Mostly small, seemingly inconsequential, selfless acts done consistently. The solution to our interpersonal disconnect is personal. To overcome, each and every one of us, graduates and everybody here and everybody at home, must focus on the things we repeatedly do, what we think, the stories we tell ourselves, what we spend our time absorbing, and what we put out into the world. This is our life, and this is our practice. Onteora class of 2022, do you actually want things to be better? Do you want to make the world at least a little bit more peaceful for you and yours? Better yet, do you want to help secure a better future for all of us? Are you aspirational? Do you want to build a life you can look back upon and be proud of, or do you want to be exceptional? It's easier than you think. Trust me, I've walked the road for long enough now. It's not just platitudes here. There's some examples that we can do. 6 things that if done repeatedly, every last one of us will pull us all back together. First, stop the negative self-talk. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't getting ignored by a corrupt system. And I've just recently heard a phrase, and I just had to say it in the speech, don't let your brain yuck your yums. I think that's a great thing. So meditate and be mindful. 2, disconnect from the sensationalist, over-editorialized media that's filling our heads with garbage, pulling on our fears, and making us angrier and dumber. Delete social media completely, or even better, break the algorithm. Be a positive, enjoyable presence on social, elevate the conversation, ignore the negativity, and starve the beast. 4, make your world smaller. We worship and hang on every word said by national talking heads with an axe to grind. They're strangers. They're charlatans. Connect instead with local people who have a shared sense of building a thriving community and tackle local issues. And 5, never, ever, ever reduce someone down to their arbitrary labels of who they voted for, their economic status, or things like gender or race, or things that simplify us. 6, stop saying should have. It's should have. No, that last one doesn't count. My editor put that one, I think. So I've been chosen to give you this last lesson as a group, and that's why I've talked so much. It's the wrong interpretation to think that I'm here because of achievements or successes. Look at me as I really am. I am you on the other side of space and time, on the other side of the cosmos, and I'm the you who now understands the best way to live life, to be successful, and even save humanity is in trying to be better every moment in the practice of my own life. If I can just be a little bit better, my world will be too. And that message has traveled a long way to get to you guys, so don't miss it. And sorry, gang, it's not optional. It's not extra credit. You're all in on this. Our community needs you. The communities you venture to and settle in throughout your life need you. So choose to give more to your life than you ask for in return, and choose to be a better you because it makes a better us. It's been a great honor to be able to address you here today, and I thank you so much. Congratulations, class of 2022.